training is something that obviously you've been doing for your entire life. You're doing this course now with altitude that incorporates some training, both physical and mental. But I'm curious if there's a specific area of training that has been a struggle for you.
Especially growing up as a kid, even into my like late teenage years, physically I was really weak. Like even now, it really makes me like it's unbelievable what I was able to climb when I was like 17, 18, considering like I couldn't do anything on campus board or something like this.
No kidding.
Uh, and that makes me always realize, okay, like, yeah, physical power, undoubtedly, it's super, super important. But most of the time, it's maybe a little less important than people might think.
Well, I think that's kind of a hot take because so much is made of finger strength in the climbing world. And I'm curious from your perspective here, do you feel finger strength is the most important factor when it comes to climbing well, or would you categorize it as something else?
Mm. I don't like these big statements like something is the most important. It's obviously very important.
Sure.
Another question is how do you actually measure finger strength? So me in particular, even now, and especially when I was 15-year-old, I would think finger strength, especially when I was 15-year-old, was my strength. But if you would measure it by the standards that we usually take it, like two arm dead hang with the most weight that you could take on one arm dead hang, I would be like ridiculously weak.
Huh.
I I think if I when I was 15, like middle beastmaker edge on 2000, I don't think I would be able to one arm dead hang in. And like now it seems like 7A climber can do it. Mostly because I think like it's so much more about the shoulder strength than
Uh,
you think. And like
yeah.
my shoulders were always like super flexible, super hypermobile, which for certain aspects of climbing is great, but not for one arm dead hangs. But you have to realize that it's almost never that you one arm dead hang on a rock. It's maybe a bit more common in the gym and especially in the modern style of bouldering, but on the rock you never really have to do it.
All right, y'all, just a quick break here to talk about my training and how I have been tracking it lately. And that is by using this Koros watch. I'm using it to track my heart rate, my HRV, sleep, recovery, and just overall training load. And I'm loving it. It's called the Koros Apex 2. And you've probably seen loads of climbers using it from Tommy Caldwell to Sasha DeJulian to Stefano Ghisolfi. And that is because it is the best damn fitness tracker when it comes to climbing specific training. It'll auto detect the pitches that you're climbing in the gym or out on rock. I love that feature. And you can program all sorts of workouts in there, including, by the way, hangboard workouts. So cool. Look, if you like to geek out over your training and if you're busy like I am, this watch will totally change how you train. I love all the features on here. You can learn all about them at Koros.com. And by the way, you can score yourself a free watch band with the purchase of one of these Apex 2 Pros by using code STRUGGLE. Check it out. Let's get back to this chat.
On the other hand, yes, finger strength is very important, but I think more of a finger strength in this like kind of pulling on tiny edges on like old school boulder problems in the gym. That's what it counts, and that's even when I was 15, I would say still quite strong.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're one of the strongest boulders in the world, having climbed some of the hardest problems out there. And it is interesting the difference between objective finger strength, like just measuring it, versus being able to apply it to the wall. Do you even test your finger strength? Do you specifically train like hangs like that, or are you training up
Yeah.
in various other ways?
So I think I train the finger strength more by bouldering itself, by campusing, by campus bouldering and stuff like this. I occasionally might do dead hangs a little bit. For me personally, I know that it works really well as a test. That if I feel good on one arm dead hangs, it means like okay, I'm strong at the moment.
Mhm.
But I don't really do so much training by the dead hangs. But as a measurement, especially, I don't know, as a warm up on a really good day, if I do like one or two dead hangs, it makes me feel like, okay, today is a good day, and that usually never really disappoints. So I think one arm dead hang is very good personal reference. But on the other hand, I know that somebody can dead hang 30 kilos plus, which I can't even think about it. And still, if we measure ourselves on the wall, you would never think that I'm weaker or something like this.
When you reflect back, because you've been a climber now for 25 years or something like that, and you've been training with some of the world's best coaches and also climbing with some of the world's best climbers. When you reflect on those last couple decades, does anything stand out to you with regard to your own training, like a mistake that you made looking back, something that you would have changed, or conversely, something that really made the difference?
Yeah. I think over the last 2 years, I really understood how efficient training tool is board climbing.
Uh,
And yeah, it can be moonboard, can be kilterboard, but most importantly, I think maybe just a board that you do like that where you only use like a very tiny feet and mostly just wooden edges. That was something that I didn't have in my training gym where I usually train, and I was always thinking like, that's something that could be very useful, but I don't really want to waste my technique. But I could also think of maybe a few climbers that I knew about that they were climbing a lot on the boards like this, and I could easily see how much it transfers into their climbing. Like they were really strong, but they just didn't know how to climb in a way.
right.
Like were climbing like so frontal and so I was always really afraid that it would ruin my technique. So it took me like really years to kind of give it a chance. But I must say that even though I did a lot of campus board in my life, I thought like after some years of campus board training, I kind of to a certain plateau and I never really improved so much. I mean, even though I have maybe like four different campus boards where I train all over the town where I live in Brno, you only have like a limited amount of moves that you can do on a campus board. No matter how different edges you have and no matter how wide you do it, it's still kind of the same. You learn that particular move and then it's kind of the same. Whereas like board climbing, yeah, definitely got me recently. And I don't feel like I lost that much technique and I got stronger quicker than I expected. I think like physically I'm the strongest at the moment, and I think mostly to doing more board climbing in the least recent years.
Hey, if you enjoyed this conversation here with the king, Adam Ondra, guess what? I talked with him for almost 2 hours on the podcast where he opened up and shared secrets to his training, nutrition, tactics, and mental game. He also shared some stories that I'd never heard before. It's so, so good. If you're serious about rock climbing, if you want to get better as a climber, I invite you to check out the podcast. You can listen to it for zero cost right there.